July 17th, 2023 regular session meeting of the Cinnaminson Township Committee is now called to order. Please everyone rise, please join me in saluting the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Public Law 1975, Chapter 231. Notice of this meeting was published in the Burlington County Times and the Courier Post on January 6, 2023. Roll call, please, Madam Secretary.
Yes, Mayor. Mr. Horner.
Here.
Mrs. Crayville. Present. Mr. Seagrass.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Konda.
Here.
Mayor Miguel.
Here.
Thank you.
First item on our tonight's agenda is a proclamation for Parks and Recreation Month. Parks and Recreation programs and activities are an important part of our community, evidenced by the spectacular parks, recreation programs, and special events, which thousands of residents enjoy each year. Our commitments to Parks and Recreation continues to be led by my colleague, committee member, and liaison to Parks and Recreation, Stephanie Crable. Stephanie, please join me in front of the dais as I read this important proclamation. Bear with me, a lot of whereas. Whereas Parks and Recreation services are vital for communities throughout this country, including Cinnaminson Township, New Jersey, and whereas Parks and Recreation services establish and maintain the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of the community and region, and whereas Parks and Recreation services build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease, provide therapeutic recreation services for individuals with mental and physical disabilities, and also the mental and emotional health of all residents, and whereas Parks and Recreation services increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction, and whereas parks and open spaces ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors, and whereas Parks and Recreation services are vital to our communities, from protecting open space and natural resources to helping fight obesity and providing activities and resources for all walks of life, and whereas the U.S. House of Representatives passed an official resolution as it designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, and therefore, I, Ernest McGill, Mayor, Township of Cinnaminson, County of Burlington, and State of Jersey, do hereby proclaim July 2023 Parks and Recreation Month. In witness thereof, my hand, this day, January 17th. On a personal note, I'd like to thank Stephanie Crable, my colleague and friend, for all the work she does, hard work she does on the Parks and Recreation Committee as liaison. She does a great job, and I appreciate it. Thank you, Steph. Okay. Continuing on, we have committee liaison reports. Starting off with Committee Member Horner, Finance and Economic Development, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Under the consent agenda this evening, Resolution 2023-92, acceptance of the 2022 audit report for review. That resolution is going to stand as my report for this evening. Mr. Schubiger will address that when we get to the consent agenda.
Fantastic. Thank you. Committee Member Cravel, Parks and Recreation and Veterans Affairs.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. For Parks and Recreation, the summer tennis lessons started last week. As usual, the turnout has been great. We've had over 150 registrations. The tennis lessons will continue to run through August 17th, every Tuesday and Thursday from 9 a.m. to noon at Wood Park. The summer concert series is underway and will run every Thursday night until August 31st. Performing at this week's concert will be Parkway Soul, which is an Earth, Wind, and Fire tribute band. Just a reminder that the concerts are every Thursday at 7 p.m. at Wood Park. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Cravel. Committee Member Segrist, Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. PSE&G paving contractor South State continues pavement restoration of the roads which have been impacted by their gas main replacement project. To date, PSE&G has restored over 32 miles of roads within Cinnaminson Township, the majority of which were curb-to-curb replacements. American Water is tentatively scheduled to start new services for the recently installed water mains on Villager Avenue, Oakwood Drive, Columbia Avenue, Kathleen Avenue, Bell Road, and Jane Road in August. Tonight on our consent agenda, we're awarding a contract for drainage improvements at the end of Glenview Drive, which consists of a new stormwater inlet, pipe, and one-way valve, or backflow valve, to prevent backflowing through the pipe onto the roadway. And then one last thing. The Public Works Department personnel continue with brush collection operations. Residents are reminded to keep all curbside brush piles at least 10 feet away from all storm drains, per New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. Please also be reminded that leaves and grass should not be mixed in with brush. That concludes my report, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Segrist. Deputy Mayor Konda, Administration and Health and Senior Services, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For senior services, on August 8th, the Cinnaminson Police Association is sponsoring a senior bus trip to the Tropicana Casino in Atlantic City. This is available to all seniors, and for this particular event, senior is considered 55 and above.
Yes.
So you can go, I can go.
Awesome.
There are still some seats left. In order to reserve a seat, you can go to the Cinnaminson Township Police Facebook page, and there is a Sign Up Genius link on that page where you can go sign up. Or we have posted a sign-up sheet, physical paper sign-up sheet, in the community center, so you can also sign up there. And I believe are there other ways to sign up, Chief?
You can call or email Mike Zarzasti.
You can call or email Sergeant Zarzasti, who is heading this trip up. As for administration, this evening's consent agenda has Resolution 2023-90. Over the past year or so, I've gotten several comments on the condition of the community center itself. In the past month, it has been repainted. And tonight's agenda has a resolution to award a contract to redo the floors, because the floors are older than me. So
Wow.
that's I just sort of make mention of the fact that the flooring in the community center is being replaced. And that is all I have.
Would that make them dirt, by the way? No.
Make some dirt.
Thank you, Mr. Konda. Public Safety, activity report for the Police Department for June 2023 is as follows. Total incidents responded to was 1995. Total arrests made was 27. Total property checks made was 589. Total motor vehicle stops, 306. Total motor vehicle summonses issued, 379. Total DWI arrests was 9, and 1 Morgan Cemetery incident. That concludes my report. Now on to the consent agenda. Mr. Schuberger, can you please give some detail regarding the resolutions of tonight's consent agenda, please?
Sure, Mayor. As Committee Member Konda just alluded to, Resolution 90 is authorizing an award of contract to LBJ Interior Solutions for flooring for both the police station and the community center. After review by all of our professionals, it's been determined that the best available pricing is with LBJ in the amount of $30,848.58. Ms. Edmondson here has determined that sufficient funding is available and recommends that the governing body authorize the award tonight. Resolution 91 is authorizing an award of contract for Glenview Drive improvements, drainage improvements specifically. Bids were received for this scope of work that was prepared by our engineer, Remington and Vernick. The lowest responsible bid was Earl Asphalt Company in the amount of $116,713.13. This project was part of our capital program that was previously approved, so sufficient funding is in fact available, and we collectively recommend that the governing body approve that contract as well tonight. And then finally, as committee member Horner alluded to earlier, Resolution 92 is the acceptance of the 2022 municipal audit for review. Township Auditor Bowman and Company has in fact completed the 2022 municipal audit, and once again, there are no findings cited in the audit, and that's due to the efforts of a lot of people within the township, led by our governing body, but certainly mostly because of our CFO, Julia Edmondson, for her fine work. So that has been many years running that we've had very good audits for the community and for the township. So of course, Ms. Edmondson does recommend that you approve accepting the audit for review tonight. And so do I. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Schuberger.
Sorry. I stand corrected. There is a raffle on the agenda that is part of the consent, and I've neglected this in the past, for Virtua Health on October 5th for Virtua Health Foundation, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schuberger. In case everybody doesn't have it, tonight's consent agenda is as follows. Resolution 2023-90, authorizing the award of contract for flooring in municipal buildings to LBJ Interior Solutions via state contract. Resolution 2023-91, authorizing award of contract to Earl Asphalt Company for Glenview Drive Drainage Improvements Project. Resolution 2023-92, acceptance of 2022 audit report for review. And as Mr. Schuberger alluded to, the last one is raffles for Virtua Health Foundation on 10/5 of 2023. Can I have a motion to open public comment on consent agenda items only?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Conda. I'll second that. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Nays? The ayes have it. Public comment on consent agenda is now open. Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Mike Weiss, 100 Fidel. On 90, was the flooring tested for asbestos? Because I know a lot of the old tiles had asbestos.
I don't believe it does, but I don't know.
No, I'm just pointing that out, that a lot of tiles from that time frame was asbestos, so it should be tested before you're spreading it around the police station especially.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, can I have a motion? I will make a motion to close public comment on the consent agenda. Can I have a second, please?
Mr. Mayor, I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Horner. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Nays? The ayes have it. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as read?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Segrist. I will second that. Roll call vote, please, Madam Secretary.
Yes, Mayor. Mr. Horner.
Aye.
Mrs. Craybill. Aye. Mr. Segrest.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Kondo.
Aye.
Mayor Miguel.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody get a chance to read the meeting minutes for June 26th of 2023?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great, thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes for June 26th, 2023?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for June 26, 2023.
Thank you, Mrs. Crable. I will second that. Roll call vote, please, Madam Secretary.
Mr. Horner.
Aye.
Mrs. Craybill.
Aye.
Mr. Segrest.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Kondo.
Aye.
Mayor Miguel.
Aye.
Thank you.
Same thing with the bill list. Everybody had a chance to look at the bill list and have any questions beforehand that are answered? Or any questions? Got it.
Yes, sir.
Great, thank
Okay.
you. I will make a motion to approve the bill list. Can I have a second, please?
Mr. Mayor, I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Horner. Roll call vote, please, Madam Secretary.
Mr. Horner.
Aye.
Mrs. Craybill.
Aye.
Mr. Seagrist.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Kondo.
Aye.
Mayor McGill.
Aye.
Thank you.
Now we're on to staff and professional comments. Any comments from our staff or professionals this evening? Anyone?
Thanks, Mayor.
Chief? Kevin? Anybody? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to public comment. Can I have a motion to open public comment, please?
I will make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Conda. I will second that. Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nays? The ayes have it. Public comment is now open. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, everyone. Jermella Shepherd, 215 Front Street, Palmyra, New Jersey, speaking on behalf of the Civic Club of East Riverton, Riverton and Palmyra. This is just a follow-up for a couple of questions. I know the sidewalk has been approved for Union Landing Road. Are any bids in, and when do you think you'll be starting?
We don't have a date on that yet.
No, but are any bids in yet?
No.
When do you think the bids will be in? Or was anybody bidding? Maybe I should have asked that question.
It's not in that phase yet. The Remington and Vernig, our engineer, is doing the design work on that right now.
Okay. Okay, and now that the park, okay, I went to the park today, and I did see that the tables with the benches were installed. Public Works did a good job. Is that you, Kevin? They look great. I just want to say they look great. And I noticed that there were benches over by the children's playground area. But I noticed that there was no table put over there with a bench to be under the tree. The 4 tables are located on the concrete, dead in the sun. So are they going to put anything over there by the children's playground, a table? There are 2 benches there now. They're there. But are they going to put a bench with a table over there so when the older people sit there and watch their kids, or not?
I believe so. Kevin, do you have any?
So right now, it's not something we're looking at. It's not something that can't be addressed later on in the future, but the benches and the picnic tables were on the new concrete patios.
Yeah, they look fine.
Thank you.
Okay, and another thing, I noticed that last month when I was here, I talked about the basketball court, how they were having the grass growing up in the cracks, and I did notice that they were sort of filled in with some black stuff. Okay, so that was taken care of. And the other question I had was, since pickleball is not going to be in the East Riverton Park, what are you doing with those funds? And could some of those funds add the seesaw and the sliding board to the park? Remember it was asked for the little
Yes.
seesaw for the little kids?
Wait, do you want-
And
do you have anything?
just a little taller sliding board for the kids that were ages 8 to 12, that was the question.
Eric, you want to? Go ahead.
Yeah, when you say seesaw, do you mean the little spring-loaded toys that somebody sits on? Or do you mean like
No.
a seesaw, one on one end, one on the
Yeah,
other, and you go up and
yeah.
down?
But a little lower one for the little kids because,
Yeah.
the-
So, Ms. Shepherd, I think the last meeting you said all the parks had them except for East Riverton.
no, I didn't say all the parks had them. I said some of the parks had them, not all the parks.
So, as it stands now, only one park has a seesaw. And I do believe that Mr. Schubiger and Mr. Gaunt did some research in regard to that. And the recommendations as they stand now are that no parks have seesaws, including Wood Park, which is the only park that has one. So I think it's safe to say, Kevin and Eric, that that seesaw probably will be removed at some point.
Are they deemed,
to that.
deemed dangerous or something?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that why it is?
Yes.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
I didn't know that.
Now, if I might, what we are putting in the parks, and I think what is in every park, and I think we're considering it for East Riverton as well, is what replaces the seesaw, which is essentially like
little spring thing?
like a spring-loaded
Yeah.
with a seat on either side. That's what the seesaw has become. The old school, I'm twice the size of the guy on the other side and I can hold you up in the air forever.
Forever.
Those seesaws are no longer put in any parks.
Okay. And what about the, I believe it was mentioned that there would be a path or something around the park for people to walk?
And I don't think
Something
we've
I
ever
won't
had
recall.
that discussion.
No?
I think someone asked
Someone,
about a
it was
path.
discussed, or, it was discussed because I had written it down. I just didn't have, I don't have my notes with me today because I'm late.
I don't think anybody up here
I think
ever.
somebody had asked
Yeah.
for a
Yes.
walking path around the park. And at this point, a path hasn't been deemed to be put into the park, around the perimeter of the park.
Okay. And one more thing about the handicap. I think if a handicapped person in a wheelchair comes to the East Riverton Park, they're gonna have to go all the way across the park without being any concrete there to get to the play area. Is anything being done about that? I mean, like pushing a wheelchair, because there's no path.
Isn't the parking lot across the street from the park area? Isn't there a pathway that leads up to that? I could be wrong, I don't know. I mean, I've been there several
So the
times.
new concrete patio has an ADA compliant ramp leading up into the park.
So they can go that far?
Correct, but also then the playground 5R mulch that we've added is ADA compliant for a wheelchair. And then the hard surface of the grass and the turf can also sustain a wheelchair.
Okay, that's
So there isn't a dedicated concrete path, but it is fully accessible.
Oh, okay. And I think that's, okay, and I think that's all. But did you answer my question about what's some pickleball money? What is that going to be used for now? Not for East Riverton Park?
I don't think there's any money
There was
specifically for
there was no
pickleball.
designated quote-unquote money allocated for strictly pickleball. It was to refurbish the existing tennis courts.
Okay.
So the tennis courts, that funding is put into those tennis courts.
Okay, so the East Riverton Tennis Court will be,
Will be restriped and
okay,
the net was taken care of and the fence was replaced. But there was no allocated funding strictly for pickleball to be added into the park.
okay. So the tennis court will be restriped.
Right, those were the questions, whether the
Right.
tennis court was going to be restriped for pickleball or use the existing striping for tennis. Those were the questions that were being asked when we were determining what to do with the tennis courts.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening, everyone. Bob Sinatra, 1205 Perry Ave. I'm here tonight to revisit the ongoing disturbances in Morgan Cemetery. I think we're pretty much at this point at an impasse with the cemetery group. Mr. Schubiger has pursued and written, we've been back and forth corresponding via email, and there's been a lot of correspondence related to the things they did do and didn't do and what they promised and didn't promise. Unfortunately, they didn't do a lot of things that they did promise, and we had another instance last week, a little less than a week ago, where police officers came out and dispersed the individuals. There were two groups in the cemetery at 9 o'clock, two separate areas. But my issue at this point is, since our friends who own the cemetery and the cemetery group are reluctant to take any further action, where do we go? Is there anything that the township can do to help myself and the other residents in that area regarding the problem? Because I don't think it's going away. I'll be honest, I feel it's better. I think the police patrolling on occasion through have done some good. The one sign that's up, but it's not going to go any further. And they won't put the gates up, which are the true fix, but so be it, for cost-related purposes or whatever their excuse may be. But it's not, nothing else is going to change, I don't think. I don't think it's going to get a whole lot better. We're still going to have the issues, so it's going to remain unresolved. But Mr. Goins had a suggestion, I don't know legally or whatever, if it's prudent to file a complaint with the cemetery, formal complaint against the cemetery or the New Jersey Cemetery Board, if that's an option. Or perhaps maybe our police have been very good at coming in, waiting for them, escorting them out. But up until this point, they haven't pursued, in my, any type of summons or any type of penalty. So my question is from a legal standpoint, are we able to enforce any penalties against these folks who keep coming in? And I believe the group that was in there last week are repeat offenders. I think it's the same people who created a significant disturbance the prior month. I think they just keep coming back because they feel like they can do pretty much whatever they want to do. One of my neighbors who lives on Purnell was out in his garage listening to the disturbance, and apparently one of the ladies got a little upset with one of our officers and said that he had no legal right to throw her off the property or ask her to leave. So they're very reluctant. They're very defensive against the police, but they've been doing it forever. They've been going in and out, since day one. So the big question is, what can we do? Is there anything else that can be done for the problem and to bring some relief or some change, real change, positive change to the situation? That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you. You want to answer it, or did you want an answer, or what?
Well, if you have any thoughts or answers or.
What, can let me ask you a question. What do you think the problem, what, you keep saying the problem. What is the problem?
What is the problem?
Yes, you keep, like you're saying, like the taking care of the problem. What is the problem?
The problem is that we have groups of carloads of people coming into the cemetery, 9 o'clock at night, playing loud music, kids running around, having parties, throwing balloons up in the air. Basically, just it's a disturbance. It's in my backyard. In my backyard, I have a built-in pool, I have a beautiful yard. I'm reluctant to ask people to come over on the weekends because it's not a good thing. It's just a flat out, these people just keep coming back in and doing what they shouldn't be doing, along with the relief of, the use of the back of my woods for a lavatory. I could go on and on. I mean, I think it's been pretty much explained in detail that there's a whole lot more going on than just them driving in and out.
Are you talking about just at nighttime, or are you talking about during the day, or?
Look, I'll put it to you this way, okay? There are people coming in after 5 o'clock, which is what it says on the sign. You're supposed to be, the hours are between 9 and 5. I don't care if people come in at 5:05 or 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock when the sun's out. And as long as they're not playing music that I can hear inside my house with the windows closed and the air conditioning on, I'm fine with that. But when it's 9 o'clock at night, and I
understand.
I go to bed at 9 o'clock, but I'm relaxing, I'm watching TV. My friends next door are a young couple, they have kids. They're trying to put the kids to sleep, and these folks are out here having a full-blown party. There's no respect for neighbors, let alone the people buried in that cemetery. And again, it's not the majority of them. It's a chosen group, and I do believe that some of them are repeat offenders. That's why I said, is there anything we can do to summons or
Chief?
take these folks?
Yeah, go ahead.
So the group you're speaking about, they actually weren't repeat offenders. The girl that made the comment just lost her boyfriend tragically 2 days prior. She made the comment because she was upset. I know because I spoke to Sergeant McClaverty. She made the comment because she just lost her boyfriend tragically, and she didn't believe that we had the right to disturb their mourning process during that time period. I mean, she was grieving. The other group, they were packing it up, so the officers were waiting for them to disperse. The issue is not only that the signs are not in both locations, but let's think about the property in itself. The township ordinance says 10 o'clock for noise. We now got the private owner of the cemetery to agree to a much earlier time. The police cannot enforce anything technically before 10 o'clock for noise because that's our ordinance. A private property in the air has no right to tell us to make it less time. But it's their property for the purpose of 9 to 5. As you know, they have the one sign, not the two. I can't write a trespassing complaint or summons unless it's properly marked. That's one. Two, I have to tread lightly on and respect all the different religions and the way people mourn their loved ones, because we, here it is 7 o'clock, we're all working right now. If I wanted to go see my mother or father was at that cemetery, I would have to go at 7:30. So not everybody can get there at a certain time. So do we punish them? Or do we just keep the noise down? I get what you're saying. So we go there, we try to disperse the noise. Every time an officer goes there, he documents whether he or she heard noise at the time she was there. And they document in the incident if they were cooperative or did they give them any problems. 9 out of 10 times, they've all pretty much went after the police got there. But we have to be careful on how we treat the people respecting their loved ones that they're going to visit, because we don't know their religion or how they do it or what time they get done work. I get you live there, Mr. Sinatra, but in all fairness, the cemetery was there 100 years before you. So I'm just trying to play on both sides. I have to be fair to both. I have to respect your wishes to keep privacy and all that, but I have to respect their wishes too, and I have to go also with the township current ordinance and all that. We're not going to lower the ordinance to 5 o'clock just for Morgan Cemetery. So we have to, what makes them any different than Sonic parking lot? If you just want to take away the fact that it's a cemetery, Sonic can go there up till 10 o'clock at night. Why are they different than Morgan? So we have to be fair across the board. Learned that from Eric, by the way. We have to be fair amongst everything. We have to treat everybody the same, everything equal, and that's how we have to do it. But I can't give a summons. I can't morally give somebody a summons for being a little loud because they just lost a loved one. We can ask them to keep it down, but the two groups you're talking about, they weren't the habitual offenders as you would.
I can do it morally because I have to put up with this stuff all the time, so nothing personal.
No,
And living there is a different story. And you're right, I bought the house and I knew that there was a cemetery out back, but when I bought my house 25 years ago, there wasn't a grave within sight. The majority of it was over in the older section, and some guy next door to me said they're never gonna build graves there, and I was stupid enough to believe it. But to any event, I appreciate the explanation, thank you.
but we're still going. We're still there to keep the noise down.
And you know what, and I'm not gonna call if somebody's there at 5:05. I don't, that's not the problem. And as far as their respect to me, they're in a cemetery mourning, but you don't mourn, in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know the religion or whatever, but I don't mourn people at 9 and 10 o'clock at night with car music blasting loud enough to hear it at Mike's house, which is.
And I'm 300 yards away.
Which is how far.
And the ordinance does say.
All right, this is not a dialogue, this is a open comment. If you have something to come up and say, please come up and say it at the,
All right, that's fine.
I'm just saying, this could get into a whole big thing, and
Okay,
this,
Mike wants to-
before you go, Ryan has.
Chief, I just had a quick question. Mr. Sinatra
Yes.
made a comment, a suggestion by Mr. Goins about a formal complaint to a state agency or whoever governs the cemeteries in the state of New Jersey. I'm assuming that complaint would probably carry some weight if it came from the township. I'm assuming from the township, we would probably need some type of records from the police department that would outline an excessive amount of calls. Whatever that number is, I don't know, but I don't keep track. I know you do. Off the top of your head, do you have any idea how many calls you've received in the last probably 6-7 months?
Well, Miguel's been reading it every month, one here, two there, there's been maybe 3, 4. This month, there's a few that you'll get for next month. But if I had to take an educated guess over 6 months, 24, at the biggest number. And that's also keeping account that some people are thinking that some of the boom party music from Philly is coming from Morgan Cemetery. I think you heard some there. So sometimes people think it's that, but it's actually Jetro Lot in South Philly, or it's the Camden Pine Point Park music. It's hard to figure out where the noise is coming from.
So really, it boils down to just continuously call,
Yes.
right? Okay,
But the more we document it, the more we
right,
have
okay.
to prove.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate you clarifying that for me.
Justin, you have information on on this?
Right. So my office has done a preliminary review of the complaint process. It's our opinion at this point that process is more intended to be used by people who have loved ones in the cemetery when the cemetery is not complying with the state cemetery board regulations. It's not really, the intent of it isn't something like this, which is more about municipal enforcement of laws and ordinances, which would fall within the police department and possibly maybe some review of business license based upon, as this continues, my office will continue to review on a routine basis any the calls that continue to come in with the police department, with the appropriate township officials, and then based upon that, we'll make a appropriate recommendation as this continues.
Thank you, John.
So, Mike Goins, 100 Purnell. I believe the ordinance also, there is on car radios that is not to be heard greater than 50 feet. I'm 300 yards away, and if I can hear 300 yards away, that's greater than 50 feet. So that alone should be enough to cite them. I believe that's what's in the ordinance for 50 feet.
But we have to, Mayor, as you know, being a former police, we have to observe it for us to write the ticket.
Correct.
Every time the officers went out there, they have documented with their body-worn cameras that the music was not playing when they got there. They might have shut it off the minute they saw the car, but we have to, we have to,
Maybe should lie by Purnell and Parrot before they go into South.
we have to do a line of sight, though. You just sound, they have to. We do have 2 officers that went through Rutgers training for sound levels. We're researching different devices now to be able to do the audible levels and all that. But again, they have to take that device, point it toward the noise source, they can do the reading and all that, but we have to actually see where the noise is coming from.
I agree, but for the sound level, but again, if it's, I'm 300 feet away, and you can hear, you see the cars from my house playing the music, I don't know why you have to take a reading when.
Because when I go to court, I have to be able to tell the decibel level.
It doesn't say that in the ordinance.
No, but if I was to do it, if I don't see it, I have to be able to do line of sight.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else?
One last thing. In the letter, and I've said this before, they put that fence on other people's property. And they know it, I've told them, the township been told, why aren't we doing something about that? I'm looking at you, Eric, I don't know if it's you or who has to do something about that.
The location of the fence that was requested that they put up is not in a spot that it should be. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
not on their property.
do whatever.
It's on, people on Purnell Avenue's property. Starts out on their property.
That we certainly can, we'll follow up on that part, for sure.
Can I make one more point?
Come up to the thing, please.
It's Bob Sinatra, 1205 Parry. What happens if they go in there and take that one sign down that they put up?
Who?
The cemetery. They put this sign up that says that you have to be out of there at 9 to 5. What if they get the bright idea because somebody that's mourning decides that they don't like the situation, and because they don't want the pressure, they want to sell more graves, they take that sign down? Is there any obligation to leave it up, or can they just take it down?
I don't believe there is.
I think they have to have it up, right?
We can look into it, but I don't believe there is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. My name is Lowell Kirchner, 1713 Jackson Street. This is more of a comment and concern. It's about, what is it, code 525-35 about commercial vehicles. Recently, this past Tuesday, I received a ticket out of nowhere on my work truck. I've been parking in front of my house for over 11 years. Okay, I'm in work in the medical field. I deliver oxygen, hospital beds for hospice patients. And I also know another person in the area, in the neighborhood, a couple streets down, who also has a truck. He's been living there for 30 years, parking his truck there. And he also actually volunteers at the Cinnaminson Fire Department. We both got tickets the same day because I called the police station and they informed me that he also got a ticket that day. And apparently this is a code that's been in the books for years, but apparently they say they were given the task to start enforcing it. So you would think, you would hope that they would at least give you a warning, since there's no signs on the street posting this, and nobody really would know this code. The only reason I knew it is because I got the ticket and I looked it up. So my question is there a way that we can maybe look into this or review this code a little bit more in depth? Because I think it has to do with weight, poundage. I think it's 8,000. I have a two-wheel axle little truck. And, you know, it's, I think it needs to be looked in. There's SUVs that come close to that. And then, you know, there's cars with unvalid registration tags on their windows. Cars, 10 cars in one house in front of their, you know, I have one vehicle. And I was really surprised. Like, what if you don't have a driveway? So you're going to get a ticket every day? Because that's what the officer said. Oh, is it random? He's like, no, it's not going to be random. It's going to be. Well, I don't know how true that is because I drove by my neighbors and he parked his truck outside last night. I went by there this morning. He didn't have a ticket, so maybe it is random, but you know, it's not my call. Or maybe they can look into maybe getting a permit if it's really an issue with the township having commercial vehicles parked. I mean, I don't know. So that's really what I wanted to bring to your attention, you know.
Thank you. We will look into the ordinance.
So.
When you see they, that you meaning us or the police department looking into it?
Well, I don't know what you can do, but I was
Well, we're-
brought to my
'cause we're-
attention to come here to present this.
We're the-
I said, what can I do? I said, well, go to the meeting.
Well, we're the ones who changed the ordinance, not the police department, so you
All right.
would address that to us, and we
It
will,
it was just crazy. I've been parking there for 11 years.
we will look into it.
So, you know, people that don't have a driveway, what are you going to do?
We will look into it, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Mr. Kirschner.
Anyone else? Seeing none, I'd like to make a motion to close public comment. Can I have anyone?
second it.
Anyone?
I'll second that. Did you make a motion?
I'll make that motion. You'll second it?
I'll second it.
Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays? The ayes have it. Now can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Nope,
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's already been done.
Done. Wait a minute, I'm at the wrong spot. Hold on. At the wrong spot. Here we are, public comment. We closed that. Okay, any comments from committee members tonight?
Just a couple, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to commend Committeewoman Crable. Last week, I was talking to a non-resident who brought up the concerts. They've been going to the concerts for the last 3 years. And this particular person was raving about not only the fact that we do them, but they've expanded every single year. And they make a night out of that every single week. He said their group now is about 20 people that they bring over from out of town to enjoy the concerts. The other compliment is for Committeewoman Cravel, is Cinnaminson Baseball had their tournament, actually also to Mr. Gaunt as well. Cinnaminson Baseball had their tournament, and as a lot of people know, I'm actively involved in baseball, as was Committeewoman Cravel for quite a long time. And we receive so many compliments about, in this case, Memorial Park and all the baseball fields, but I have a daughter that plays softball, as does Committeeman Segrist. And, you know, our parks are fantastic. The amenities we have are fantastic. The programs that we have are excellent. And I just wanted to make sure that Committeewoman Cravel heard those compliments on the record.
Good. Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else?
I echo his sentiment.
Paul?
Nope, I have nothing this evening.
Steph?
Well, I'll just add, the kudos are not all mine. The kudos go to Eric Schubiger, goes to our parks and the beautification of our parks go to Public Works and all the hard employees that are in there day in and day out, rain, sleet, shine. They're there every day giving the attention to our parks. They make our parks beautiful. So kudos to our team in this township that actually pull everything together for our residents.
Well said.
Well said. And I will just echo the sentiments of my fellow committee members. The parks look fantastic. Steph, great job as liaison to Parks and Rec. We appreciate all your hard work. Kevin, your people, thank them. Great job for them. And that's it. Anyone else have anything else?
No, sir.
Oh, I think the next thing we have on our agenda is adjournment. Anybody that can make a motion to adjourn? I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Anybody second it?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Condon. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nays, the ayes have it. Next meeting, thank you for coming, everybody. Next meeting is Monday, August 7th, 2023 at 6:30 PM.